Bethlehem, Nebraska. And a voice cried from a field deep within the heartland, Bethlehem, Nebraska, where corn stalks tower higher than a man, and the sugar beet and sorghum are the promised milk and honey of the faithful. And he did raise his eyes above the vast horizon, and spake unto the Lord, saying plainly, Lord, our ships did bear the banner of the Christ, when 40 days we wandered upon the open sea, and first we spied the shores of the fabled promised land. And we did break the soil, and subjugate the savages, those enemies of Christ, and march them to the sea, which they could not divide, and their tears were like a river, in which to cleanse the mark of Cain upon their heathen souls. And the wind was still and quiet, and no bird made a sound, and silence hung like rope above the gallows, filling all immensity as stars against the pitch of even's endless chasm, when drunk the moon is sleeping, and truant from the heavens. And we did rise and kill and eat as it is written, and drove the filthy bison from the greatness of the land, that we might sow and harvest. And we did make a mountain of their bones upon the plains, in a testament to destiny, a monument to God, and his favor on the faithful. And the wind was still and quiet, and no bird made a sound, and silence hung like rope above the gallows, filling all immensity as stars against the pitch of even's endless chasm, when drunk the moon is sleeping, and truant from the heavens. And it was written down in the scriptures of the Lord, slaves, obey your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trepidation, and sincerity of heart, as unto Christ. And so, Lord, we did gather them to build the new Jerusalem, to lift and tote and harvest all the cotton, like clouds plucked from the heavens. And we did send those pale nights unto the furrowed lands, riding into darkness to illuminate the one true cross of the Messiah. For the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And was it not much better that they should lose an eye, than that their wretched bodies be cast upon the lake of fire, which cannot be extinguished? And the wind was still and quiet, and no bird made a sound, and silence hung like rope above the gallows, filling all immensity as stars against the pitch of even's endless chasm, when drunk the moon is sleeping, and truant from the heavens. And all of this, our Father, which surely art in heaven, from the goodness of our hearts, for the glory of the Lord, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for one and all. And we have kept our covenant, manifest to destiny, as servants of the Christ, in pious veneration. And yet our hour is waning, and terror fills our temples, and blood flows in our streets. And open sores do blemish the children of the faithful, while the Pharisees who rule the New Jerusalem devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Are we become like Job? Why hast thou forsaken us, who only live to serve thee? And the wind was still and quiet, and no bird made a sound, and silence hung like rope above the gallows, filling all immensity as stars against the pitch of even's endless chasm, when drunk the moon is sleeping, and truant from the heavens. And then a voice emerged from inside the sawyer's breast, as he stood upon the promised land in Bethlehem, Nebraska. And it held no rolling thunder, but a searing bolt of lightning, that God hath called the truth. And it spake unto him plainly. When first you made the land fall, and took those holy men, immaculate and pure, and herded them as beasts unto the world's edge, you drove a cruel nail into the open palm of Christ, and your righteousness and valor were but as filthy rags in the sight of the Most High. And the wind began to whisper, and the fowls of the air sent forth a hopeful song. And the moon, now full and sober, did rise above the plain, and sent a beacon forth to light the way with truth. Your mountain on the plains, left bleaching in the sun, did desecrate my garden, and sent the naked fleeing to hunger and privation. And you did sow destruction, and a rape is not a harvest. And the labor in your fields was an abomination. For it is written in the Scriptures that the laborer deserveth his wages. And know ye not that God desires mercy, that kindness is a benediction? Upon the devil's steeds did your pale legions ride into the hopeless night, and every flame they lit brought darkness to the land, and pestilence into the heart of man. And the wind began to whisper, and the fowls of the air sent forth a hopeful song. And the moon, now full and sober, did rise above the plain, and sent a beacon forth to light the way with truth. And it was written long ago, 2,000 years and counting, render unto Caesar those things that are Caesar's, and unto God those things that are God's. But you have made my house a den of thieves and robbers. For it is your chosen prophets who devour widows' houses, who strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. For they are hungry wolves set among my flocks, and you, of all the men in Canaan, should know them by their fruits. And nations are not holy or profane, for such is the dominion of the hearts and souls of men. And the wind began to whisper, and the fowls of the air sent forth a hopeful song. And the moon, now full and sober, did rise above the plain, and sent a beacon forth to light the way with truth. And the terror in your temples and the blood upon your streets are the wages of the violence that you worship, which is the stone foundation on which you built your mansion. And the sores upon the faces of your mothers, sisters, brothers, the wages of antipathy and greed. For when they lie upon the road, you clutch your sword and cross against the heart of mercy, which does spread that plague afar, like a spark into the tinder, until now you cry to heaven for the blood of one sweet lamb, unblemished, to sprinkle on your door. And the high priests who rule the New Jerusalem were not decreed by God, but purchased with the wages of rigidity and ignorance, chosen in contempt of the frailty of kindness by ones such as thee, stewards of the promised land in Bethlehem, Nebraska. Petition not the Lord against the hardness of your heart, or the depths of your indifference, the scourge of your greed, for the answer to your prayer is that each man hath a choice. So, physician, heal thyself. Go and sell all your possessions, and come and follow me. Take my yoke upon thee, and ye shall find rest unto your soul. Let the dead bury the dead. Let kindness be your worship, generosity your prayer, and it will be sweet music in the mansion of the Lord. And the wind began to shout, and the fowls of the air fill the world with canticle, and the full moon was eclipsed by the brightness of the sun. And the truth did burn a hole in the sawyer's supplication on the rich plains of the Holy Land of Bethlehem, Nebraska.